The boy's name was Santiago. Dusk was falling as the boy arrived with his yacht at an adorned church. The roof had fallen in long ago, and an enormous sycamore had grown on the spot where the sacristy had once stood. He decided to spend the night there. He saw to it that all the sheep entered through the ruined gate, and then laid some planks across it to prevent the frogs from wandering away during the night. There were no wolves in the region, but once an animal had strayed during the night, the boy had to spend the entire next day searching for it. He swept the floor with his jacket and lay down, using the book he had just finished reading as a pillow. He told himself that he would have to start reading thicker books. They lasted longer and made more comfortable pillows. It was still dark when he woke up, and looking up, he could see the stars through the half-destroyed roof. I wanted to sleep a little longer, he thought. He had had the same dream that night as a week ago, and once again he had wakened before it ended. He arose and, taking up his frock, began to awaken the sheep that still slept. He had noticed that as soon as he woke up, most of his animals also began to stir. It was as if some mysterious energy bound his life to that of the sheep, with whom he had spent the past 2 years, leading them through the countryside in searching of food and water. They are so used to me that they know my schedule, he muttered, thinking about that for a moment. He realized that it could be the other way around, that it was he who had become accommodated to their schedule. But there were certain of them who took a bit longer to awaken. The boy prodded them one by one with his crock, calling each by name. He had always believed that the sheep were able to understand what he said, so there were times when he read them part of his book that he had made an important impression on him, or when he would tell them of the loneliness or the happiness of a shepherd in the field. Sometimes he would comment to them on the things he had seen in the villages they passed. But for the past few days, he had spoken to them about only one thing, the girl. The girl, the daughter of a merchant who lived in the village. They would reach in about 4 days. He had been to the village only once, the year before. The merchant was proprietor of a dry goods shop, and he always demanded that the ship be shared in his presence, so that he would not be cheated. A friend had told the boy about the shop, and he had taken his ship there. "I need to sell some wool," the boy told the merchant. The shop was busy, and the man asked the shipyard to wait until the afternoon. So the boy sat on the steps of the shop and took a book from his bag. "I didn't know that the shipyard knew how to read," said a girl voice behind him. The girl was typical of the region of Andalusia, with flowing black hair and eyes that Bugolri recalled the Moorish conquerors. "Well, usually I learn more from my ship than from books," he answered. During the 2 hours that they talked, she told him she was the merchant's daughter and the spoke of the line in the village, where each day was like all the others. The shipyard told her of the Andalusian countryside and related the news from the other towns where he had stopped. It was a pleasant change from talking to his ship. "How did you learn to read?" the girl asked at the point. "Like everyone learns," he said. "In school?" "Well, if you know how to read, why are you just a shipyard?" The boy mumbled an answer that allowed him to avoid responding to her question. He was sure the girl would never understand. He went on telling stories about his travels, and her bright, moonrich eyes went wide with fear and surprises. As the time passed, the boy found himself wishing that the day would never end, that her father would stay busy and keep him waiting for 3 days. He recognized that he was feeling something he had never experienced before, the desire to live in one place forever with the girl, with the raven hair, with his days would never be the same again. But finally, the merchant appeared and asked the boy to shear 4 sheep. He paid for the wool and asked the shipyard to come back for the following year. And now it was only 4 days before he would be back in that same village. He was excited and at the same time uneasy. Maybe the girl had already forgotten him. Lot of shipyard passed through, selling their wool. "It doesn't matter," he said to his ship. "I know other girls in other places." But in his heart he knew that it did matter, and he knew that shipyards, like seamen and like traveling salesmen, always found a town where there was someone who could make them forget the joys of carefree wandering. The day was dawning, and the shipyard urged his ship in the direction of the sun, they never have to make any decisions. He thought maybe that's why they always stay close to me. The only thing that concerned the ship were food and water. As long as the boy knew how to find the best pastures in Andalusia, they would be his friends. Yes, their days were all the same. With the seemingly endless hour between sunrise and dusk, and they had never read a book in their young life and didn't understand what the boy told him about the sides of his cities. They were content with just food and water, and in exchange they generously give of their wool, their company, and once in a while their meat. If I become a monster today and decide to kill them one by one, they would become aware only after most of the flock had been slaughtered, thought the boy. They trust me and they have forgotten how to rely on their own instinct because I lead them to nourishment. The boy was surprised at his thought. Maybe the church with the sycamore growing from within had been haunted. It had caused him to have the same dream for a second time, and it was causing him to feel anger toward his faithful companions. He drank a bit from the wine that remained from his dinner of the night before, and he gathered his jacket closer to his body. He knew that a few hours from now, with the sun at his zenith, the heat would be so great that he would not be able to lead the flocks across the field. It was the time of the day when all of its pain sleep during the summer. The heat lasted until rainfall, and all that time he had to carry his jacket. But when he thought to complain about the burden of his weight, he remembered that because he had the jacket, he had withstood the cold of the dawn. We have to be prepared for change, he thought, and he was grateful for the jacket's weight and warmth. The jacket had a purpose, and so did the boy. His purpose in his life was to travel, and after 2 years of walking the Andalusia terrain, he knew all the cities of the region. He was planning on this visit to explain to the girl how it was that a simple shipyard knew how to read, that he had attended a seminary until he was 16. His parents had wanted him to become a priest and thereby a source of pride for a simple farm family. They worked hard just to have food and water, like the sheep. He had studied Latin, Spanish, and theology, but ever since he had been a child, he had wanted to know the world, and this was much more important to him than knowing God and learning about man's sins. One afternoon, on a visit to his family, he had summoned up the courage to tell his father that he didn't want to become a priest, that he wanted to travel. People from all over the world have passed through this village, son, said his father. They come in search of new things, but when they leave, they are basically the same people they were when they arrived. They climbed the mountain to see the castle, and they wind up thinking that the past have been better than what we have now. They have blonde hair or dark skin, but basically they are the same as the people who live right here. But I had liked to see the castles in the towns where they live, the boy explained. Those people, when they see our land, say that they would like to live here forever. His father continued. Well, I have liked to see their land and see how they live, said his son. The people who come here have a lot of money to spend, so they can afford to travel, his father said. Amongst us, the only one who traveled are the shepherds. Well, then I will be a shepherd. His father said no more. The next day, he gave his son a pouch that held 3 ancient Spanish gold coins. I found this on one day in the field. I wanted them to be a part of your inheritance, but use them to buy your flock. Take to the field, and someday you will learn that our countryside is the best, and our women the most beautiful. And he gave the boy his blessing. The boy could see in his father's gaze a desire to be able himself to travel the world, a desire that was still alive, despite his father's having had to bury it. Over dozens of years, under the burden of struggling for water to drink, food to eat, and the same place to sleep every night of his life, the horizon was tingled with red, and suddenly the sun appeared. The boy thought back to that conversation with his father and felt very happy. He had already seen many castles and met many women, but none the equal of the one who awaited him several days hence. He owned a jacket, a book that he could trade for another, and a flock of sheep. But most important, he was able every day to live out his dream. If he were too tired of the Andalusian field, he could sail his ship and go to sea. But the time he had had enough of the sea, he would already have known other cities, other women, and other chances to be happy. I couldn't have found God in the seminary, he thought, as he looked at the sunrise. Whenever he could, he sought out a new road to travel. He had never been to that ruined church before. In spite of having traveled through those paths many times, the world was huge and inexhaustible. He had only to allow his ship to set the road for a while, and he would discover other interesting things. The problem is that they don't even realize that they are walking a new road every day. They don't see that the fields are new and the seasons change. All they think about is food and water. Maybe we are all that way, the boy mused. Even me, I haven't thought of other women since I met that merchant daughter. Looking at the sun, he calculated that he would reach Tarifa before midday. There he could exchange his book for a thicker one, fill his wine bottle, shave and have a haircut. He had to prepare himself for his meeting with the girl, and he didn't want to think about the possibility that some other shipyard with a larger flock of ships had arrived there before him and asked for her hand. Is the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting, he thought as he looked again at the position of the sun and hurried his back. He had suddenly remembered that in Tarifa there was an old woman who had interpreted dreams.